And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for like probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say it
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone, Sean Anderson. Today we're back to doing our summer preview series, and we're getting you ready for the 2024 college football season. With us is a Texas football legend, Josh Fisher, founder and host of Stripe Sports. That was Sean's idea. I don't know. Sean, that's too congratulatory for Josh.
Sean and I are secret boys.
Nice. No, you're not.
Yes, we are secret boys. That's a really nice, very nice opening. I was on my phone. I was just making sure I was on silent. I realized it wasn't ringing.
I got your attention pretty quick.
You did get my attention pretty quickly. I am a Texas legend in my house, which is sure. I think Hugh Freeze said he wanted to be a legend in his house, a good dad, a good husband, good all those things, which is always, I feel, one of the more ironic quotes that have been swept under the rug in sports history. But yeah, I mean, Texas, baby, tis the season.
The helmet that you stole from The Office. I also have a lot of things that I stole from The Office, and we are here though to talk about the Horns. We're trying to see what is going to happen with this Longhorn team. Before we get into the nitty gritty of it, we start every interview with a would you rather. Sean, what do you got this week?
Yeah, Josh, quick one for the Texas legend himself. Would you rather be a Texas A&M yell leader or get a horns down tattoo? I'll give you wherever you want to place the horns down tattoo on yourself.
I would rather get the horns down tattoo than get if that's what you're asking, for sure. I would rather get the horn. I'd rather get the horn.
You know they're a bit sensitive, Josh. You know they're not going to like that.
I would rather get a horn because I could if I get it on my butt, I could spin around and make it horns up. It's just I got it upside down versus me being.
So you got to do a handstand and stick your ass in the air just for it to be a normal. Sure, let's go with that.
Let's go with that. I mean, versus look, I mean, there's no coming back from being one of those guys. That's a death sentence right there.
Sean, you had another question before I actually ask a football question. What is this that you wrote down about the Michael Rubin all-white thing?
One of my favorite Stripe sports bits at stripe.sports on Instagram was their Michael Rubin all-white party for the bros. It's one of my favorites.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed that video. But I have a question for Josh on whether or not his opinion on Michael Rubin changed after seeing his baseball throwing form. For me, it changed drastically. I said, this man should not be throwing parties with athletes. He can't hit the strike zone or anywhere near it.
I don't mind that as much as I don't. Something just seems off about him. It just doesn't seem real. He's an unbelievable businessman. World class, top 1%, top 1% of the 1%, right? What he's done is amazing. He's an unbelievably accomplished guy. Deserves it all. And he worked hard. Just something seems very ingenuine and off about him. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's on Ozempic and that's taking a toll because he dropped a lot of weight real quick. But I don't know. Something just seems off. So I'm not shocked by him throwing like that. It almost seems fitting that he throws like that. And I'm glad you liked the bit. He's never responded to it. Didn't go as viral as some of our other stuff, but I think it's a hilarious concept. But he's a very, very talented and distinguished individual and deserves a lot of respect. But I think something's weird about him, so I'm not surprised. Nothing's changed for me.
We got to ask some actual questions about some real athletes, Sean. The first thing that I'm really intrigued by, Josh, with this upcoming year, and that I think could be a real key point for Texas's success is what happens with their interior defensive line. They lost Devondre Sweat, Byron Murphy. Both of them moved on to the NFL. They were highly drafted. Many consider them, I think it's not even a debate to say that they were the best defensive tackle duo in the country last year. So what does it kind of look like for this team this upcoming year? For Texas fans specifically, is there a little bit of uneasiness and expectation on what's going to happen trying to replace those guys?
You're not gonna replace those guys. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about the two best interior defensive linemen Like one won the Outland Trophy, you know what I'm saying? And the other was a, top 15 pick, right? Or top 16 pick, right? So like these are two of the top defensive linemen in the nation. One of them had a DUI and was still a top 50 pick like a week before, like 2 weeks before the draft. Like he's that big of a beast. Like these guys are monsters on the inside. And we're going to the SEC. Size is king. Like that's it. Like you need size to compete. So there's no like, oh, we're going to be fine. Like those are tough holes to fill for sure. I think things just change. Like our rosters, we have depth at that position. So maybe we don't have an outward stud, but we have the luxury of being able to rotate guys in and get fresh legs in and like plug and play and trial and error a little bit, not against Michigan per se, but against some of our easier opponents before we get into SEC play. We have a little bit of trial and error to see who those guys are that are going to allocate those minutes. We have some good transfers, we have some good young freshmen that I think are big boys, at least to clog up that size. And then we have a lot of really talented pass rushers. So I think Sark has done, it's ironic because we have Arkansas on the schedule at Arkansas again. I think the best thing that's happened in Texas football, other than like bringing Sark in, was us losing to Arkansas a couple years back. Going to Arkansas, getting our ass kicked. Sometimes you got to lose to know how to win, the poet Steven Tyler said. I think losing to them showed us how much we need size. And if you look at our recruiting, our transfer portal, all that, how much size and speed we have acquired going into the SEC. Do I know if there's another Tavondre Sweat or Byron Murphy on the roster? I don't know. Those are like unbelievable all-time Texas linemen. But there might be guys that compartmentalize, piece by piece, get that similar output. You might get a similar output from a group of guys versus one guy, and that's fine. Like we brought in, I'm interested to see your guys' thoughts. We bring in Trey Moore. I've had debates with other buddies who don't think he's going to translate. I'm like, that guy had a ridiculous amount of sacks in D1. It's not like, is he going to get like 15 sacks in the SEC? That's a tall ask. But
right.
He could get an 8 or 9, which is still a boatload, which is still outstanding. And there's other guys there's so much depth on the Texas roster. I'm looking at it now that we haven't had in a long time, man. Like Hill, Sorrell, like Simmons we brought in, Trey Moore obviously brought in, Ethan Burke. Like we have a boatload of linebackers, edge guys, pass rushers we could just throw at you. So that's huge to me in college football. I mean, Bama has... how often is Bama rotating guys in? LSU, Georgia, these programs are rotating guys in.
Well, those teams are rotating in guys that end up being top 50 picks, top 100 picks, like they're premier defensive linemen.
That's what we have. That's what we have. I'm telling you, we have that. No, what do you mean?
I'm not doubting. That's why I'm asking the question is like, is Texas ready to be like an Alabama, like a Georgia? Because to be totally frank, like when I did the preview with Blake on our show, we didn't know any of the guys. Like they were relatively unrecognizable, but at the same point, I think you bring up a good angle here where it does seem like there's more potential for the unit to be deep because Sarkisian's been preparing for this for a couple of years.
Okay, so are they ready to be? It depends what kind of Alabama. First of all, we're returning 3 of our 4 sack leaders. They're not these, and adding Trey Moore and Colin Simmons is a top 10 recruit. Secondly, what version of Alabama, Georgia are you asking us to be? Are you asking us to be back-to-back national champion versions? No, we're not there yet. We haven't even won one yet. Are you asking us to be the versions of Alabama and Georgia on the come up of like, oh, Georgia is a stalwart in the college football playoff every year, always competitive. That is a game you mark on your schedule as a probable loss. You better show up with your best stuff and hope things go wrong for them. I think we're in that mix 100%. We went to the college football playoff last year. We lost one game, which was a heartbreak against OU, and they had a really good team with a quarterback who is at Oregon, who makes them a favorite now. Like they're a really sound football team, and in that game, anything could happen. It's like the Iron Bowl. Anything could happen in Auburn, Alabama, even if like there's a discrepancy in talent level. Those are just like games that are like esoteric ahead of the other games. This is a football team that's coming in. I was talking to Sean before the show. It's like, who do we have on our schedule that is our equivalent? We have at Michigan, fine, new head coach. They lose a boatload of talent. Not going to be a gamey game by any stretch of the imagination. We should be favored. We are the OU game, always, like I said, tough. We have Georgia, who should be the number 1A, 1B team in the nation with Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
At home. At home. We have them at home. And that means absolutely.
I don't know how much that's good. I don't know how much that's going to completely.
Everything. That means everything, bro. We have them in Austin. It is a completely different situation if we're going to Athens. If we're going to Athens, I'll be honest. I'm marking that as an L on our schedule. I'm not going in.
I respect you enough and know you well enough to say that is also going to be an L on your schedule. I know that I got myself in the deep shit last time with the whole Alabama thing, and I almost had to get a tattoo, and I was like 2 inches away from that game not going my way, and I made that bet with you. But no, come on, they're not beating Georgia. They're not beating Georgia this year.
That's an insane, like, that you can never be sure. I'm coming at the. I can be
pretty sure right now. We're talking about Georgia. We're not talking about Alabama. We're not talking about OSU. We're talking about Georgia.
I'm telling you on our schedule. Like, if we look at the games on our schedule, I'm telling you, I'm looking at Arkansas, at A&M. Do we have better rosters than both those Garbaggio programs? Absolutely. Can we lose both those games? You bet your ass we can. We're going into their house where they smell blood. Let's say we beat Michigan, we beat the defending national champions, we win the Red River.
I think is likely. I think is
fine.
Likely.
So let's say we're at home in our first year in the SEC against Georgia, undefeated. If we're undefeated at home versus an undefeated Georgia, and you're fully 100% counting us out, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Sean, what do you think? You agree
I don't
want
to jump on a Texas grenade here, but I have to give credit to Texas for kind of treating themselves like an SEC program for the last 5 to 10. They take themselves very seriously. The fans are a bit sensitive, but that's because they do care a lot. I feel like in the Big 12 for the last couple years, they have been like they have been ready to transition to SEC culture play.
Thank you.
So I think they're geared up and equipped. Georgia's Georgia, though. I'm not going to pencil in. I'll pencil in as that's dicey. Yeah. I'll pencil. That's a must watch game.
That is a penciled in loss. If there's any loss on the schedule, it is Georgia. I will not concede this. I've never disagreed with a guest this much.
I don't think you should concede it, Joe. I don't think you should because
I'm saying concede. Okay. I'm saying all you have to concede is a lock of a loss. That's crazy. You can't say that we're 100% going to lose that game.
I don't even know what the line is for that game, but I absolutely will. I will take that bet that
if Georgia is favored coming into Texas, if it's like
they will be,
if it's
Georgia will be favored going into that game,
we'll see how much by. That tells you everything.
We're gonna revisit this conversation.
If we're undefeated, I'm telling you right now. Let me say prediction on the show. If we're undefeated going into this game, and the line is Texas +5 or more. Like if we're +7, +6, +7, I will understand. I will understand you wanting to ride Georgia because that is Vegas begging you to take Texas.
I have the line here.
What is it?
Oh, there is a line. What is the line?
There's a line. What is it?
Georgia favored by 1.5.
Yeah,
that's
great.
It?
Love that.
1.5.
Oh, give me that. Give me that all day. That's free money.
That's what Vegas wants you to think, dude. Classic, bro. That is what Vegas like,
doesn't know.
Georgia.
I take Vegas' money all the time. With
Texas plus 104 on the money. That is an interesting. We are still this far out. It's getting picked this tight. Okay, so it's a bit of a toss right now. Yeah, maybe there is something to be said about Texas hosting that game.
Thank you. On the road, I'm more aligned with you. They're coming into our house. They're coming into Austin. You think we're just gonna let them drink our beer, have our food, and enjoy our women? You're crazy. It's not gonna happen.
Yes, because it's Georgia. This opens up.
They didn't make the playoff last year. You're acting like they're the defending national champions. They didn't even make the playoff.
Georgia's team last year was better than the Texas team last year. But to stay on topic with the conversation
we're having, playoffs, dude.
To stay on topic with the conversation that we're having right now is, it sounds like the expectation is for you and other Texas alumni and fans that year one in the SEC, you should be in contention for every single game. Like you should be within a point with every opponent. Is that the belief for?
If we don't win the national championship, it is not a good. If we don't at least make the national championship, yeah, bro. Dude? You are a draft guy. Yes. We had
Yes.
the second most guys drafted last year, and we still have some of the most returning starters. Our team is deep.
But
as
I would
all-
argue losing all those guys might hurt those chances. But continue what you were saying with that.
We've replenished our team in the transfer portal as well as anybody other than maybe Ole Miss. And I get, let's say, Ohio State because they got some fun toys.
I'd say Ohio State won it in the offseason personally.
Okay, fine. But we got Isaiah Bond, top dog from Bama, one of their top receivers. We got Matthew Golden, should not be overlooked. We have Silas Bolden, a speedster who I think Sark's going to get the most out of. Amari Niblack, is he going to replace Jatavian Sanders? No, I love Jatavian Sanders like he's my own son. But I think he's going to be really competitive and really good. Baxter gets a year older. We're returning pretty much all of our starting offense line. We have the number 2 offensive tackle in the class. Whatever, Blake. Like, we have the number 2 offensive tackle in the class.
Ryan has him as number 1 over Will Campbell. So if that means anything to you,
we're in a position with Texas football where that was probably last year. We're going to have 2 top. If things go well for us, we're going to have 2 top 10 picks, and then we'll have the first overall pick maybe next year.
are you implying that that's Arch?
Yeah.
Okay. So Arch on one season's play jumps into the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft.
Do you want me to go down? You want me to go down the list?
Schedule. I'm just saying I haven't seen him play a college snap yet.
I'll go down the list of guys that have come on in one season and went from like 5th round status to first overall or second overall.
But a lot
pick.
of those guys played, because I'm assuming you're kind of implying Joe Burrow. I don't actually hate this approach, because I don't think that. Well, Cam Newton was much older. Jane Daniels was much older. My point is I don't actually disagree with that take, because he has the NFL bloodline, he has the name. So as long as he looks strong and he shows off some of the abilities that he's been touted, which is accuracy, decision making, poise, all of those things, he's not going to have the biggest arm in the class. Other guys like Connor Weigman, if he sticks around. Riley Leonard, I think Riley Leonard is going to end up being moved on, but there's plenty of options for guys that might be a little more
quarterback for
University of Notre Dame. For any of these guys that are
putting out NFL talent at the quarterback spot.
Any of these guys that are maybe a little bit more traitsy, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if the NFL does not happen to value a guy like Arch Manning, which basically happened in recruiting. Other programs passed on the opportunity to go and get a Dante Moore and prioritize on a Dante Moore in order to be in the conversation with a guy like Arch Manning. So I could completely see that coming to fruition.
He's going to play 1 year and he's going to ball out because the Sark system's great. Let's be real. Let's just actually say what this team is. He proved it last year. The guy's got a great offensive system. Quinn Ewers, who has had injury issues, and that scares me for sure. When he was playing, he was balling. We had the number 1 running back taken. We had a first round wide receiver. We had a top tight end taken. We had offensive linemen taken. We had multiple running backs taken. Right? Our 3rd string running back got drafted, as you know, Joe, and Sean, I'm sure you know too. 6th round pick, Keelan Robinson, Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, his system is so good, guys shine. And he's actually getting his guys in the building. Our team, to me, is so good offensively. I don't look at anybody across the way and I'm like, oh man, they could outshoot us. I think we could outshoot everybody. Defensively, I think the first question you ask is how do we replace our 2 top interior boys? That's going to be pretty tough. But I think we have enough defensive talent in the secondary. Like, we had Makuba from Clemson. That's a big add at the safety spot. I've spoken about Moore and Simmons as big ads. And also, like, here's another thing. You want, this 5 stars, the transfers. Sweat, Murphy, these guys are 3-star guys. Burke was our starting edge guy last year. He's a 3-star guy. Our development at Texas is so much better than it's ever been. You're right, Sean. We're developing guys like SEC players. Like, the SEC develops guys, man. They don't just get the 5 stars. They get guys and they develop them. I don't care how many 5 stars you got, bro. Like, how many times have we seen, like, I mean, A&M came in and everyone is like jerking Jimbo Fisher off because he's got the greatest recruiting class in the history of the world. And guess where he is? He's got the same head coaching job as I got in college football. None.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Development,
The expectation is going to be high. I wasn't totally expecting Josh, for you to say that it was totally all in on a national title this year, but hey, I'm excited for it. I want more fan bases to expect.
How can it not
Well,
be?
that's fair. That's true. That's 100% true. Maybe the expectation first year in the SEC, maybe kind of slow your roll the first season. But look, I just love messing with you because you get.
We went to Alabama last year, who almost beat the national champions, gave them their toughest game, and we beat the brakes off of them. We beat them, bro. No questions asked, no issue. We beat them pretty much third and a half quarter on. We beat them. And like,
look, I love it when the expectation's high. I love it when I want more fan bases to expect
that. In that game.
It's just a lot of change quick for this school. Yes. It's a lot of change, and then betting on change is tough.
Our schedule is not hard in terms of SEC. And I was telling you before in the pre-show, we no LSU, no Ole Miss, no Bama, no Tennessee on our schedule. We have Mississippi State, whatever. We have nothing is a guarantee, right? At Vanderbilt, which is pretty much a Pee-wee team at this point. Florida is become a joke of a program. That guy, he might not even be the head coach by that time. And then at Arkansas, trap game, but we should win that. Versus Kentucky, they're a basketball school. I don't care what anybody says. And then at A&M, which if we lose to at A&M in the first game back with A&M, lop my dick off. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say that on the show, but just chop it off. Give me the full bris. Like, I don't like. Just take it from me. I know at that point if we lose to those fuckers.
Well, if you guys win a title, you're going to be the first person that we have on here to rub it in our faces. Josh, I appreciate you taking the time to. This is probably the most riled up I think that we've been after a preview. So makes me so happy that I'm like so excited to see what's going to happen with Texas this year. It feels like we're back in the office and you and I were arguing with each other when we were supposed to be getting work done in the Believe offices.
Taxes, Joe DeLeone's wrong. That's it, bro.
Yeah, pretty much. Get that Sean. We should put that on a hack T-shirt.
We can brand it out.
Anything you want to plug, Josh, before we get out of here? Anything you're working on coming up?
I'm just doing me, bro. And I want to plug Texas as the national champions.
All right. Catch you folks later.